On today's edition of Andy and Ari on 3, it is a live picks edition. We got some big games to pick. Michigan headed to Oklahoma. A renewal of the Kansas-Missouri rivalry. The Cy-Hawk Trophy, Iowa and Iowa State. And how about USF, the darling of week 1, headed to Florida to play in the swamp. We're picking all those games and more on today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3. We have teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. I realize week 1 isn't really over yet, but it is still time to make the week 2 picks. But Ari, we do have a week 1 game tonight. Bill Belichick making his college coaching debut, TCU versus North Carolina in Chapel Hill. We have both picked TCU minus 3.5. That is the current line at BetMGM. We picked it last week. It has not moved. What do you think?
I have not loved TCU this much since they opened against Colorado in Deion Sanders' first game.
And that's probably not the thing anybody wants to hear when you talk about you being on TCU.
The joke. I think, listen, all the things that we can come up with, Andy, here in terms of how to evaluate a roster, pick a game, you're betting on, do you believe Bill Belichick is a genius and he could flip the roster in one offseason and be better than a team that has a quarterback that half the SEC wanted this offseason? Or do you think that Sonny Dykes, a team that took TCU to the national title game a few years ago,
who has a quarterback that 3/4 of the SEC wanted this offseason?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like it's it's kind of it seems like the layup play. If one of us had UNC,
you mean like Alabama minus 13.5 against Florida State? The layup.
People who watch the show know that we're wrong, and I think everybody's wrong. The best gamblers in the world are going for 65%, right? So, but if one of us had the North Carolina, blue up here on the screen right now for Labor Day picks, if your analysis is Bill Belichick's a god, like that's not convincing enough for me. So we might turn out to find out that that's all that, it is. But, I've been very open with how I feel about this. And, the way that Deion Sanders got his team together 2 years ago was very impressive, and he caught us off guard. I don't know if that's the, regular thought. I don't know, man. Convince me why we could be wrong for something other than Bill Belichick coaching the NFL.
Because we don't actually know anything. That's why.
It's pretty convincing. Yeah.
All I have to say is Alabama FSU right now, and that probably everybody goes, oh yeah, we don't actually know anything.
Yeah, TCU fan was messaging me today saying that he's afraid that TCU's got some holes on its offensive line and that if we learned anything from Matt Patricia's debut at Ohio State, it's that an NFL coordinator who's not preparing to coach against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady can scheme up some things looks-wise to confuse an offensive line with blitzes, which then gets in the quarterback's head. But in this instance, that's a little bit different than what Matt Patricia did. Is
Matt Patricia has Caleb Downs.
Well, Matt Patricia also
is anything like that.
Was going against a player who was making his first time start as the full-time starter, and Josh Hoover, I think, is more seasoned than that. So, I think that with me, I don't know what's going to have to happen. Maybe 2 years down the line, my thought process will be different, but when I'm betting on personnel. I don't bet on narrative. And I think that TCU, you could say with a straight face, has really superior personnel. Now, maybe we're going to get a taste of what Mike Norvell's doing in Chapel Hill, which is getting undervalued guys in the portal that you believe fit your system, and putting together a team that plays well and plays hard together really fast. And you have a close game, especially considering the fact that hype's through the roof, the game's in Chapel Hill, all those things. But yeah, I just feel like there's more reasons to pick TCU than there is to pick North Carolina. Andy, we said we're wrong all the time. Yeah, we are wrong all the time, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to try to make deep or picks based on deep analysis and thought. If that was enough.
This analysis is not deep, I'll tell you that, because we don't know anything about North Carolina. They haven't let us see anything. So there's nothing deep about the analysis at all. It is TCU probably has the better quarterback. What? He's experienced. TCU probably has the better roster. We could be completely wrong on that, but we'll find out.
I just think it's interesting because I wonder, gamblers like to gamble. It's an isolated game on a Monday night, the last game on a Monday night before Monday Night Football takes over. Of all the people who have placed bets on North Carolina with BetMGM, how many of those people do you think know who Josh Hoover is?
I would say
25%.
25%, yeah.
So, when I say deep analysis, it's not just TCU as a quarterback we've heard of. It's a deep understanding of how rosters are built, what it takes continuity wise, a coach that's already proven that he's a elite level evaluator at the college level. What Mike Norvell did this offseason and what he did 2 years ago is really, really, really hard. What Deion Sanders did 2 years ago, really, really hard. I'm not saying
8 years ago. So let's not. Yeah.
What?
Deion went 4-8 ago too.
Yeah, right. But to at least that was more of like a win one for the Gipper situation, it felt like, and TCU was all out of sorts. And I think that the one thing that makes me like TCU even more in this instance is, and we talked to Sonny Dykes about this at Big 12 Media Day, was like learning from that circus and learning from trying to coach, a coach that, is unknown at this level, or somebody that you're not quite sure, what they're going to do tendency wise as comparison to their hype. So, I don't know, man. I'm really, really looking forward to it because just morbid curiosity of what North Carolina is.
That's me right here. I just want to see it. I want to see Bill Belichick. I want to, what's he going to wear? Honestly, how will he mutilate a North Carolina sweatshirt to coach a game? These are the things I want to know. Where will Jordan sit?
What is he going to wear?
They're selling the pre-cut off hoodies in the bookstore, so I'm thinking it's one of those.
I'm just going to go look at the Chapel Hill forecast. It's probably going to be in the 70s, right? Chapel Hill tonight will be in the mid 70s around kickoff. So, or low 70s. So maybe we'll get that. But he did the cutoff sweater was usually in very cold weather, wasn't it?
No, he did it in warm weather too. He just didn't put anything underneath it. So
yeah, that would be cool if Jordan had a headset, wouldn't
it? We'll find out. And that's been your Bill Belichick Fashion Minute. Ari, we do have to get to the games that we're actually picking. We are keeping the records this year, so full accountability here. Ari, 7-4 against the spread so far this season. I am 5-6. I am 2 games behind. Neither of us is going to gain or lose anything on each other with this North Carolina TCU game. We'll see how our picks today go. But before we get to the picks today, I do want to show you a couple pieces of video. Let us start with Kalen DeBoer from today. Alex Scarborough of 24/7 asking Kalen DeBoer a question, and it really kind of sums up where Bama's at after that Florida State game.
You mentioned the great week before the game. Just how much do you self-scout the preparation before games, and are there times as a coach where maybe you notice during the week that things might not be going the way that you want them to?
You said, what do you mean, great week?
A great week. You said a great week of preparation.
For this week, you're saying, or are you referring to last
going
week?
up to Florida State before that game.
I said that?
You said that, yeah, before.
Oh, just,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, I think our guys did. I mean, defensively, I felt like that we were pretty honed in. Gone back and actually looked at the practice film on some of the reps that we took that were pretty much identical to what we saw, and just trying to figure out, why were we one step or what, why was our communication just a little bit slower? So it's just, again, these guys have already shown me yesterday how bad they want it and how they're going to respond. And so, I really feel like the tone in the locker room after the game, at least from my standpoint, and how I can address the team is completely different than it was a year ago. And so, we don't need to speak in those terms, but it feels different. There's more of a, just flat out upset. I can use a lot of different words to explain it, but just, really upset about how it went. These aren't learning moments anymore. This is us and our program. And, again, we understand the situation we've put ourselves in and that we're in, but it is a long season. And
wait, I said we had a great practice? Wait, I did?
So
me?
I do that sometimes too, though. I say things and then I black out.
Just Will Ferrell against James Carville in Old School.
Yeah,
I just blacked out for a second.
So let me just ask you this, because we had a relationship, or knew Kalen DeBoer, at least I did, on a surface level when he was at Washington, and was the nicest, most approachable, humble,
great guy.
We had this conversation with Ryan Day before he flipped his entire narrative as a human being in the last 5 games.
I think you actually asked him this when we were talking off air.
I did, but about being a normal human that I want to go to
Applebee's
with, and if you have to be a psychopath to be a good college football coach, and this is starting to, and I guess Ryan Day has unequivocally proven that that's not the case unless he's becoming.
We don't have a definitive answer on the nipples yet.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't say freak. Okay. I said psychopath.
It's all part of the same ecosystem.
I will die on the hill that he should pierce his nipples if they win the national title. You know how Jim Harbaugh got a tattoo? Hey, if we won the championship, the nipple thing would be great. But all kidding aside, I look at Kalen DeBoer because I've never had a face-to-face interaction with him since he's taken the job at Bama. But if he is the same person, and I assume that he was at Washington, I do feel a little bad. And I wonder if he is melting down.
Because I don't know if he's melting down. I just think it's difficult because the pressure of that job is more intense than most jobs in the entire world. And you've actually seen it. Dennis Franchione did cave under the pressure and ran off to Texas A&M, which says something about the era of college football at the time, because Texas A&M, I would argue, is as intense a job as this now. But I just think there's nothing that's going to be good enough other than winning the national title every year. And you have to accept that when you take the job. And if you didn't have that conversation with yourself when you decided to leave Washington, you did yourself a disservice.
Do you think that it's possible for even a coach who has won everywhere he's gone to underestimate that pressure before taking the job?
Yes.
Yes.
I had a coaching agent text me the other day and was telling me about a conversation they had with somebody else who'd said, "Oh, do you think people are watching this and saying, oh, that Alabama job's maybe a little more than I want to do, and it'll cause them to stay if, let's say, it opened, or if a job like that opens?" And the agent goes, "Of course not. They all think they're the solution to the problem." And that's the mindset. And you kind of have to have that mindset. So yeah, I think
you want to hire a coach that would be wary of that. So it's
Yes.
a good thing. You know, there are a lot of programs in college football, and I'm going to kind of latch on to what you just said about A&M, Andy, in that A&M is a town full of crazy people who are willing to pay a big buyout. But the difference between Alabama and other jobs like Florida and Florida State and some of these other places that have proud programs that expect to win is that the standard of what they got used to is so much higher than even what success would be determined at. Like if they go to the playoff at A&M, like you're a hero. You know what I mean? Going to the playoff at Bama, baseline expectation. You know what I mean? There is still there is no room for hiccup.
Going to the 4-team playoff was a baseline expectation, not even the 12.
Yeah, right. Like I don't think that even if Alabama, I think if they turned it around and somehow made the playoff this year, that people would be able to forgive him for what happened in Tallahassee. But the baseline level of expectation is so much higher at Bama than even at the other most proud places. And like it's brings me back to his answer because the beginning was clunky, right? I couldn't figure out what I was saying. What are you saying? What did he say? Yep. Who's on first base? Like, I don't know what was going on there, but I did think that what he said at the end of his answer, which was, this isn't a learning experience anymore. We know we got what we got ourselves into, I think was the right thing to say. So I think he deserves credit for that.
Well, and he's very clearly trying to hit the note of this year isn't last year, because he recognizes that loss looked like 3 of last year's losses. And if you have 3 more losses like that this year, he's going to be fired. I don't care how big the buyout is. Like, it's Alabama. You can't go 8-4.
Yeah,
you can't. And that's that. I wouldn't say that about most other places, but I am saying that about Alabama.
I mean, honestly, you could even say the case that Alabama standards higher than Ohio State's.
I would agree with that.
An entire decade without winning a national title. Ryan Day lost to his rival 4 times in a row before they won the national title. You think you can lose to Auburn 4 times in a row in Tuscaloosa and not get fired?
Oh my God! No. I mean, Mike Shula was in the midst of that, and that's why he got fired. That's why they hired Nick Saban.
We can go down another road that'll probably upset some people in Tuscaloosa, but I do wonder two things. One, the acceptance that Nick Saban isn't coming back, as bad as your message board wants it to. I read that quote that Paul Feinbaum had this morning. I don't know if you saw that, and I know he's playing a character to a certain extent, but that was like, why won't he just come back and like he's not coming back, right? I don't know. It would be something for the show if he came back at any point in the next year. But do you think that Alabama, a program that has historically been driven by having the most legendary coaches, and you and I have had the discussion in the offseason while ranking jobs if Alabama is actually the best job or if great coaches have made it look like one. But if the Alabama fans will ever get back to a point where their expectations are still, the highest in the country, but not unreasonable. Like, do you think that like even if they make the playoff and they make the playoff 3 years in a row, but don't win a national title under DeBoer, like right now, don't you think that would be enough? If they made the playoff the next 3 years in a row and made it to the Final Four once or twice.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's enough. You're not going to fire anybody over that, but the natives would be restless.
But you've seen fan bases readjust their expectations based on circumstance over long periods of time. And now I get it. We're only in year 2 of the Bama existence without Saban, but I think that they had to have already. I think the mature thing, and fanhood isn't mature and it's not rational, so nobody did this, but the rational thing would have been to readjust your expectations the second Saban retired, let alone, regardless of who they hired, that you're not going to do that again, probably. But the one thing that I will say about Alabama fans is that they're certainly within their right to be pissed off that they've lost 4 times to unranked teams. Like what we're talking about in terms of their upper echelon success, like they're not even in the same galaxy as that world right now. So of course they should be upset, right? Like we're talking about losing to unranked teams right now. We're not talking about missing the playoff. We're not talking about not winning the national title. We're like hoping that they don't go 8-4. That's completely unacceptable.
It is. And we'll see what happens next. Also, speaking of what happens next, when you're at a game, be careful who you decide to mock. Be careful who you decide to taunt. LSU did get the win at Clemson, but one LSU fan took a massive L. Producer River, please run that video. So there he is shooting double birds at the Clemson fan who looks like a mild-mannered dude. Maybe he works in an office somewhere. Probably was a Navy SEAL based on what happened next. If you're just listening in podcast form, this Clemson fan, and this is not a super jack dude. This is not a guy who looks like a professional wrestler. This is a guy who looks like a normal dude.
Family has a daughter in a sorority there.
Yeah, normal dude, khakis and a polo. And he grabs this dude by his collar and pins him up against the wall. And the look of sheer terror on this LSU fan who realized he is effed around with the wrong person and found out is priceless. So the next time you want to flip the double birds at somebody because your team scored a touchdown, just remember that person may be this guy.
Are we sure that LSU fan's not J.D. Pickell?
No, J.D. Pickell's hair is much blonder, much more pure blonde than that guy. That guy's using some sun in.
That almost happened to me one time at a blackjack table in Vegas. Somebody stayed on 16 against the 10, and I said, "Why don't you just give them your whole wallet instead of your chip stack?" And the guy almost knocked my head off my shoulders.
I'm actually shocked that you haven't been knocked out by someone who got tired of you talking to them.
I just have learned to play blackjack alone. I can't play at the same table as other people. If you stay on,
you probably shouldn't do a lot of things near other people. Yeah. I think that's a good rule.
But it is crazy to think though that you never really quite know who you're messing with.
No,
you never know who's ready to pocket that off.
Exactly. It's like the Instagram photos where there's a picture of a lightweight UFC champion and some bodybuilder, and who's more likely to kick your ass? It's always the guy who's not the bodybuilder, because bodybuilders are stiff and can't move. This dude, the quickness is what's shocking. It's like, when you see a 350-pound defensive lineman that can move, it's the quickness.
It's so funny because it is literally less than a second where he goes from having the birds in that guy's face to being pinned against the wall. It's so fast. And good for you. Also, I know
the amount of lift this guy gets. This dude the LSU fan is off the ground at this point. He is in midair.
I just think that people who go out of their way to be disrespectful to others, but the beginning of the video.
These are the types of videos I send you all the time. Ari thinks I love fight videos. I do not love fight videos. I love when jerks get their comeuppance. That's what I love.
The double bird, he was bent over, with his knees bent, and he did the double bird. And that by itself, if you freeze it right there, that's really funny. It's just, it's a funny thing to look at.
Right.
Oh man, I wish we could see the end of the video. I wonder what happened at the end.
But, I want to know what happened the 10 minutes before. Had these two interacted at all?
Yeah,
beforehand?
Maybe they did. I don't know, but who cares?
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? Modelo. We are sponsored by Modelo. College football season upon us, and college football season is Modelo season. In fact, as I watch TCU and North Carolina tonight, I may go Modelo. I may go Modelo Negra. I don't know. I have not decided yet, but one of those Modelos is getting cracked as I watch Chapel Bill make his debut. Grab yourself a Modelo and stay game day ready all season long. Cold, crisp, refreshing. There is nothing better. Ari, it's time to make some picks. This slate is interesting. This is one of those, I think, if the TV networks were actually as in control as we say they are, they would have moved some stuff around. But some very intriguing games. And we'll start off with one that you and I circled quite a ways back, because we penciled in Illinois as a team in the Big Ten that could potentially make the college football playoff. When Duke got Darian Mensah, let's go back to the beginning of the transfer portal. Remember when Malik Murphy jumped in the transfer portal day one after starting at Duke, throwing a bunch of touchdowns? They won 9 games. We're like, oh, the starting quarterback's in the transfer portal. Well, if you saw Malik Murphy arguing with his coach at Oregon State the other night, and you saw Darian Mensah play at Tulane last year, now you understand what was going on. But You got Illinois led by Luke Altmaier. They looked fantastic in game one. You got Duke. Took them a minute to get going in game one, but then they ran away with it. Ari, Duke is a 3-point dog at home. Who you got?
Before we get into this pick, I just want to say that this slate looks like it sucks, which means that Saturday's show is going to be electric. Like
exactly, something crazy is going to happen.
Something's going to happen. There's no such thing as a bad college football Saturday, and we circled this game, as you said, as one of the sneaky good non-conference games of the year, and it happens at noon. The entire country hopefully will be watching and give it the credence that it deserves. I talked to an NFL scout a few weeks ago who actually coincidentally texted me that I'm an idiot for picking Oklahoma to make the playoff in my bold my bold offseason predictions, which I think we might get into later in the show when we pick the game of the week. And we got to talking, and he said that Illinois was one of the 3 most impressive teams physically that he saw in the offseason. And I think that the Illinois hype train has finally left the station. They looked very good in their season opener. I am terrified, and I think that based on this line, that we are undervaluing Duke in a big way. This is a team that won 9 games last year, a team that returned a lot of important pieces and got better at quarterback. And by the way, I don't know if you saw this. You see Malik Murphy have a complete meltdown on the sideline.
I just mentioned that, Ari. Did you not listen to what I say?
I don't know. Like sometimes I think like I need to go see a doctor about like a variety of different things. Because I've been listening to everything you said, and that did not land. Andy, my gut's here saying Duke, man.
Well,
it's saying Duke because everyone's going to be on Illinois.
We were texting back and forth like Elon's hanging in with Duke, and it's a one possession game in the third quarter. Now Duke did pull away, but yeah, this feels like one of those. Oh yeah, the team with the new quarterback kind of took a minute to get rolling. Yeah, this is interesting, and Duke's not shying away from people this pre-conference schedule because they've got Illinois this week and they got Tulane after that. And look how handsome Manny Diaz looks in that photo. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's a nice head of lettuce there.
Yeah, that rivals you. So
it might be
very
better.
Good coaching matchup here. Manny did a very good job at Duke in year one last year. Brett Bielema obviously is doing great at Illinois. This is I don't have a read on this because I really don't know what Duke is yet. Like this is the first of a couple times I'll bring up last year's South Carolina-Kentucky game because remember last year South Carolina was really shaky in its season opener, and we're like, ooh, I just don't know about these guys. And they were double-digit underdogs at Kentucky, and we didn't know what Lenore Sellers was yet, and it was strange. And then they come out and just clobber Kentucky. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I don't think Duke's going to clobber Illinois, but I don't think Duke is going to look as shaky as it looked early on against Elon. I think that part gets ironed out, and now you get the full strength of these teams. If you're going to give me points, I kind of like Duke, but Illinois looked like it was firing on all cylinders. And, you go back to the bowl game where that Illinois, South Carolina, both teams were kind of full strength. Both teams certainly cared about winning the game. And Illinois was pretty much wire to wire in that thing. So I don't know. I think I'm still going to take Illinois here.
Yeah, I think that and I knew you would, and I feel like it's hard to not. And that's the reason I'm going to pick Duke. They're at home. Illinois is the, open and shut, they're going to win team in this game. And I feel like anytime we think that way, it's a lot harder than we thought it would be.
I don't think it's open and shut, but I also think Brett Bielema is the kind of coach that does not let his team feel that way. I don't think he's going to let his team walk into this game at Wallace Wade Stadium and say, oh, we're just going to roll over them because they're Duke. I don't think that's going to happen. Plus, I don't think anybody should feel that way, given how good Duke is now, given how good the player they have at quarterback is.
Yeah. I think that we are the first to do picks every week. People tend to do them at the end of the week, which I think is kind of funny because the BetMGM lines move, and we like to get out up in front of it. And a lot of times, what people say on Thursday is a little bit different on Monday based on how those lines move. But I feel like when you look around at the end of the week, you're going to see a lot of Illinois. And for that reason, I'm going to pick Duke.
All right. I got Illinois. Ari's got Duke. Hopefully I can gain a game on him. We will see. Next up on our list, the Cyhawk game. Iowa State, and Ari, I got to admit, when I was watching the Iowa highlights, if we can call them that, from their season opener, my fear that my Mark Gronowski prediction, the bold prediction that Mark Gronowski will make Iowa a playoff contender this year. I'm scared, Ari. I don't know what the guy won the Walter Payton Award at South Dakota State. It's the FCS equivalent of the Heisman. I've seen videos of him throwing the ball well, like not the 1 5-yard out that everybody in Iowa went crazy after. The ones of him when he was at South Dakota State making great throws in games. Like, what is it when you walk into the practice field in Iowa City that makes you stop being able to do that?
Yeah, we talked about overreactions to week one, and
this is me overreacting to week one.
And like, I mean, I did too. I think like in the second, 8 for 15 for 44 yards is, that's bad. Like,
they were playing Albany, the Danes.
So I've been chomping at the bit. Is that the word, chomping or chomping?
It would be chomping. You could be champing at the bit. You could be chomping at the bit. The bit's in your mouth, so you're probably chomping on it.
Okay. But I think it's actually spelled in AP style with an A, so I always confused me. To pick Iowa in this spot, and I knew I was going to pick Iowa in this spot before last week, and I'm not going to overreact to week one. I wonder if there is a 2-week hangover for Iowa State. You saw what happened to Kansas State, right? With the week after Farmageddon, they almost lost to
South Dakota.
South Dakota. And by almost lost, meaning like
South Dakota State.
Yeah, like last second touchdown to try to take the lead there. And I think that Iowa State has looked very impressive in this.
I'm sorry, Iowa State beat South Dakota.
It was North Dakota, wasn't
the Kansas State. Now I'm blanking on who Kansas State almost lost to.
I think it was North Dakota.
North Dakota, that's right. Not North Dakota State, mind you.
Yeah, North Dakota.
Yeah, it's North Dakota.
I wonder if it's going to catch up to them in a rivalry game. Now, Iowa State's at home, and they're laying 3. This game always seems to be low scoring. It always seems to be the epitome of what Big Ten West football used to look like. And I'm going to take the points here. I think that Iowa is probably better offensively than what we saw last week. They got the jitters out of their system. They got another week to prepare and build off of what they saw out there, which was not very good. But I think in a game that might have 20 total points scored, I'll take the 3 and roll my dice with that. I mean, over under 41.5. I'll probably take the under there too.
I'm going to take the quarterback and not the one I was predicting, because I need to see Mark Gronowski do it at Iowa before I can believe again. But I've seen Rocco Beck do it over and over again. So
I love what you're doing here in trying to take the opposite side of every game that I'm doing. And
not trying to.
You're either going to be way ahead or buried by the time this week is over.
No, there are things that we'll agree on, but I didn't have a strong feeling on Duke, Illinois, other than Illinois looked very good right out of the gate, and Brett Bielema tends to be a very consistent coach. So that's where I was there. Here, Rocco Beck, my biggest question going into the Farmageddon game in Dublin was, what are you going to do without Higgins and Noel? Because those guys were awesome. And they could have completely fallen apart offensively without them. But they didn't. And Rocco Beck, when he needed to, could get you first downs with his legs. They got Carson Hansen going in the second half of that game. Abu Samaz had great games in the past. Like, I think they could be kind of more like what you expect Iowa to be if Iowa had competent quarterback play. And so I think that's why I'm going with Iowa State in this game.
Yeah, Iowa has basically dominated the series, and I'm already back to 2013. And I'm trying to figure out the last time they lost this game by more than 3. So I'm already at 2000.
It's close, yeah. It's always close.
And like the last 3 times they lost, the last 4 times now they lost was by 3 on the nose. Like every time they lose to them, it's by 3. So I'll take the 3, even if they lose, we'll push. But this game, I'm back at 2007 now. They have not lost. They lost to Iowa State by 2 in 2007. 2006, they won. I mean, they're like
2005. Really, Iowa State won 23-3. That's the one you're looking for.
It's been 20 years since Iowa has lost this game by more than 3, and I think they've only lost 4 or 5 times since. So, I think that you are smart in that. I would take Rocco Becht, who I believe is maybe one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks in all of college football. But I'm going to buy the European hangover, and I'm going to take Iowa, and I think maybe even outright to win the game. But I'm going to take the 3 to be safe because I want to win this competition with you.
All right, I got the Cyclones. Rocco Becht, do not let me down.
Point. You should get an extra half point if you pick a money line. Like, I want to give you another half point for picking Miami money line the other.
Oh, for Miami money line, that's a good question. We should. There should be something that you get extra, or maybe a tiebreaker. Like whoever gets more money lines, it wins the tiebreaker. If there's that can be our tiebreaker.
I mean, you do get my words of affirmation. That was a good pick.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Awesome. I needed that. That would have been really bad if Notre Dame had come back and won that game, and you were 3 games ahead of me.
Yeah. It's okay. There's plenty of time for me to blow you out, but it was a good, pick.
All right. Before we get to our next game, I'm going to tell you about Gametime, the place to get your college football tickets. Download the Gametime app. Use the code STAPLES. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. Do you want to go to any of these games we were talking about? Do you want to go to the Cy-Hawk game in Ames? Do you want to go to Michigan, Oklahoma in Norman? Oh, yeah. You can get in there. And if you're using the Gametime app, you see exactly where you'd be sitting in the stadium. You see exactly what your view will look like. You see exactly the price you'll pay. That's right. It's not, hey, this ticket is X number of dollars, and then we throw $90 worth of fees on the end of it. No, the amount you see is the amount you pay. Now, if you want to go to Norman and see Michigan and Oklahoma, it's a pretty penny right now. It's in the mid 3s to get in the stadium. There's some seats in the 4s that look really good, but you know exactly what you'll be paying with Gametime. Download the app. Use the code STAPLES. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Ari,
there is nothing slimier in the entire world than when companies add on like all these crazy fees at the end of something.
Oh, by the way, here's this. Yeah, Gametime's not going to do that to you.
And like prohibit that from everyone, like hotel, like resort fees and hidden fees on your cell phone bill and all these different ways that we get nickeled and dimed as consumers in this world. I appreciate Gametime for not doing that because you buy tickets, you go on a Ticketmaster and those tickets are $150. That's not bad. And then you check out and it's $500 total.
Well, the price you see on Gametime is the price you get. Code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, let us go closer to your home, actually very close to your home. Baylor, coming off the loss to Auburn, headed to SMU. SMU is a 3-point favorite at home. The more interesting piece of this particular line is the over-under is 65.5. They're thinking shootout in this game.
Yeah, this game is being played 3 miles from my house. Maybe I'll stop by. I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
You should. Just swing by and say hello.
Yeah. Baylor scared me a little bit on Friday night, Andy. And I recognize that SMU is going to attack Baylor in a much different way than Auburn did. But their defense scared me. What do you take away from their game against Auburn? Is there anything moving forward for you, in picking this?
I take away that I would run right down their throats until they stop me. I would hand off until they stop me.
Yeah. I assume that the over-under is what it is because that's probably not going to be SMU's game plan. But, if it works that way, then great. But, man.
I think Rhett Lashley's smart enough to win the way you need to win. Obviously, he's got Kevin Jennings. He knows he's got a quarterback who can light it up. The thing is, Auburn, which we think has a decent defense, we think personnel-wise their defense has a lot of talent. Baylor did move the ball really well on them.
They did.
Yeah, Michael Trigg was nearly impossible for Auburn to cover. So I think this number might be close to right. I think 65.5 might be a pretty good number for this game. I don't know if I'm willing to take the over, but I do think this could be a pretty high-scoring affair.
Yeah. Do you think that we ignored SMU in the offseason a little bit?
I do. And I think Rhett Lashley has taught us since he's been there that that's where he likes to be. He likes us underestimating them.
He also likes to remind us when we do too, though. So I don't know how much.
Oh yeah, but this is a solid program. Look, they did lose a lot from their defense that they had to replace.
Mm-hmm.
East Texas A&M probably didn't tell us much about what they are now. So I think maybe I do want to take the over on this one because I don't know what SMU's defense is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, a 38-31, 38-35 game always seems to be the result. A lot of times SMU matches up with a Big 12 team, especially one that likes to air it out as much as Baylor did. But I cannot get out of my head Baylor's defensive line getting abused the way it did in Auburn.
Yeah.
And I understand, or against Auburn in Waco. I understand that SMU probably isn't as big and strong, up front as Auburn, because Auburn bullies people.
But I would try it. I would try it. And, look, remember, Rhett Lashley is a Gus Malzahn disciple. We saw what Gus did for Florida State against Alabama, where they just ran the ball. Like, Gus only threw the ball 14 times against Alabama. Rhett Lashley learned everything he knows from Gus. Rhett Lashley, if he's in a position where he can run it down your throat and win it that way, will do that. He has no qualms about it.
Yeah.
So that's my question with taking the over, because I think Rhett will try that because he watched it work. And if that does work, it is the surest way to win a game.
Well, I will tell you one thing. If it does work, your over's cooked. So I
exactly.
feel like
that's why I'm hesitant to touch the number, just because I do think he'll try that. If it doesn't work, he obviously has plenty of tricks in the bag to go to. He has Kevin Jennings. He can let him sling it around. And then their over's in play. But that's the part I'm interested to see. Does he just come out and try to run it down their throats? Because that's what Auburn did. And it worked. Like, Hugh Freeze did not abandon that. He kept doing it. Baylor couldn't do anything about it. I would try it. Like, if I'm every Baylor opponent this season, should try that until they stop it.
You know what I love about SMU? That their entire plan as a program is to recruit the hell out of Texas and do their best to get players who get tired of being away from home to come back home in the portal a year or two later. A lot of times very good players, but like they do that to like Miami recruits. And, Rhett Lashley's, past stop at Miami, and like their number one receiver target, Romello Brinson, is a Miami transfer, and he's a really good player and led them last week. I'm high on SMU's ability to compete at a high level in the ACC. I think they have a shot of running the ball down Baylor's throat. And like you said, if they don't, I still think they'll be able to put points up on the board. I'm more certain of SMU's total package as a team right now than I am Baylor's after last week. I'm going to lay the points for SMU at home.
I am also going to take SMU. See, I'm not just going to go against you every time. I have too much faith in Rhett Lashley as a coach in the situation where the path has been shown to him. And I suspect he's going to take advantage of that.
Yep.
So, which I hate to, I don't want this to happen for Baylor, because I think Baylor is actually not bad. It's just, if you have one glaring weakness, people are going to try to exploit it. But they are going to have to.
Can't be there. If you were a football coach, where would you had to pick one of your units is going to have a glaring weakness, what would you pick?
Oh, Probably
I think it's
linebackers.
easy. I'd pick linebackers or running back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you
Second
last
levels. Offensive line would be the worst one, but defensive line is a close second.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I just that's why it's so hard for me to pick Baylor in this game, because they showed a weakness there. Before we get to Ole Miss and Kentucky, which is a fascinating game, I want to tell everybody about Panini, Ari's favorite sponsor. He's got cards all over that office that he's in right now. He's got nukes aplenty, incredible products.
Constant.
Look at this. Look at this. Panini is, of course, the makers of the most collectible sports cards on the planet and sports memorabilia. They've got a whole exclusive Arch Manning collection that's on their website right now. They've got an Ohio State team box set that's really cool. Go to PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection. Ari, show us a little bit of what you got.
I don't have any nukes in front of me.
Oh,
But I have some interesting cards that like aren't worth that much, but are still fun to have. For instance, like I have a Sam Bradford auto sitting right here. Remember Sam Bradford?
I remember Sam Bradford.
You do.
We're going to talk Oklahoma later. I got a Julian Sayin prism break right here. Julian Sayin, of course, made his first start for Ohio State, and he won against Arch Manning. So
Here's a
how about that?
Jim Harbaugh orange out of 2024 Prism Deca in his Chargers uniform. That's numbered to 49. And I got this one in the mail today. Let me go get it real quick. It's right here. My favorite thing about going out of town and returning to town is like my wife rolling her eyes at me as she hands me all the packages that came for me while I was gone. And there were like 50 of them. This is a cracked ice Marvin Harrison Contenders Optic rookie card numbered to 22. I got it to PSA and it got an 8, and I'm disappointed about that. But maybe we'll crack it and try again. Beautiful card. This is my obsession, and I've been talking to the guys at Panini. I'm like, hey, bud, send the product because we haven't gotten any yet. Send it to me. But I'd love to,
They're
crack
going to
some
send it to you. You're buying plenty. So
it's true. Why would they send it to me? I'm already using 50% of my check on it.
exactly.
My wife would say wasting, but she doesn't get it. Okay.
That's exactly right. You understand. So go to PaniniAmerica.net. Start your collection today. Ari, let us go to Lexington, Kentucky, where the home team is a 10-point dog against Ole Miss. An Ole Miss team it beat last year, by the way. There's so many weird subplots going on here, Ari, because this is exactly the spot last year where Kentucky was a 9.5-point favorite against South Carolina. And I want to bring up some video from last year. So we picked this game last year. Both of us picked South Carolina. Neither one of us thought South Carolina was going to win. We just thought the line looked weird, that it was 9.5. And we didn't think Kentucky was really that much better, even though South Carolina had been somewhat shaky in the opener. Play the video, Producer River.
Like, I think that Kentucky is probably going to win the game. I like Kentucky to win it. I don't know if they're going to win by double digits.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only reason I'm taking South Carolina is that spread is so high. I do think Kentucky's going to win this. I like their playmakers. I like the offense they've built around Brock Vandagriff. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys this year. And they also strike me as a team that can beat somebody down the road where you're not expecting it. It's just that I really struggle with when you've got conference opponents that have fairly similar talent levels and you have one favored by almost double digits. That's almost an automatic pick for me. And it was an automatic pick. So, and they made Big Blue Nation furious. They were so mad at us for picking South Carolina in that game. South Carolina ended up destroying Kentucky. But, if you listen to what I said, forget the part about them being fun on offense. I was wrong about that. But that they would beat somebody that they're not supposed to. Well, Ole Miss was the team they beat that they were not supposed to. They went to Oxford and beat Ole Miss. And if Ole Miss wins that game, Ole Miss would have made the playoff.
Yeah.
This was a weird game last year. And the fact that Kentucky's favored by 10 feels like a giant, or I'm sorry, that Ole Miss is favored by 10 on the road feels like a giant red flag.
Yeah. What would you have guessed it would have been?
I would have guessed like 7 or 7.5.
Really?
Yes. They lost to this team last year. Brad White, the defensive coordinator, seems to have a good handle on how to play this offense.
Yeah.
Kentucky does not stink on defense. They might on offense.
Yeah, this is an automatic lay 10. This isn't even a thought for me.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, I'm checking BetMGM right now to see if my eyes are tricking me.
What do you think this spread should be?
I would have thought it would be 14.5 or something, 15.
I just don't think it can be because it's such a. This was so weird last year. Like I don't know.
I'm actually looking at Tyler Shoemaker's numbers, the spreads and the data that looked at, and his projected spread is 16. So do what you want with that information, Andy. I shouldn't have told you that, but I'm laying the point. And I don't know, by the way, we didn't talk about this, but before the Ole Miss game over the weekend when they were playing Georgia State, a player got their chain snatched and a Georgia State player threw the chain. Did you see the video?
I didn't see the video for that. No.
Okay. And then
it seems like the sort of thing like throwing the double birds at that Clemson fan. It'll get you pinned against the wall.
Well, Austin Simmons, after the game, posted an Instagram that was like 15 pictures deep of him like walking in and playing in the game as they won. And the 13th or 14th picture of like 15 pictures was just the guy's headshot on ESPN from his player page with no comment on it. It was just like that guy's name was Tyler Scott, who threw the chain. I mean, if you are buying Ole Miss as a real deal, if you're buying Austin Simmons, if you're buying that Lane Kiffin is going to be able to score, after with what we saw against Toledo, like there was a pretty sloppy game at home. I know Mark Stoops is motivated, man. They're not going to be within 10 here. This might be my favorite play of the week.
Ari, they were this good on offense last year, and Brad White shut them down.
I think that them losing last year makes it harder for them to do it again. Like, I don't think that last year makes me feel like that Ole Miss will be on alert. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap. Let me lay the 10. What do you think?
I'm going to take all this into consideration, and I'm going to take Ole Miss to cover.
I'm not telling you Tyler's data anymore.
Okie dokes you on that one?
Were you going to take Ole Miss the whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
But I was going to point all that stuff out because it is weird, and it is not actually as easy as it appears to take Ole Miss to cover in this game.
Yeah. If Ole Miss does not cover in this game, I have a newfound outlook on Kentucky season. Because I actually think Ole Miss is going to be a very good football team this year. Like we were high on them, and like my biggest
we're high on Austin Simmons. We think they're going to be good. You can't tell much from the Georgia State game. Like Georgia State added TJ Finley as a quarterback today. after that game,
is he starting?
Probably.
Incredible.
If you look at the stat line of the guys they played.
I got to tell you, just so you know, as somebody who got tagged in the Rivals transfer portal tweet for TJ Finley today, nothing fires up the crowd more than TJ Finley transferring to a new place. Have you seen like people were doing Google Maps of like the 6 stops?
This is place number 6. So
yeah, there were 6 stops, and they like all like go back and forth. And
neither one Ole Miss or Kentucky, by the way. Which you would think one of them would have made the cut.
Somebody tweeted TJ Finley later in life. Yeah, I played D1 ball. The person says where, and then TJ Finley everywhere.
Everywhere. That's exactly right. Now, I want to see Austin Simmons against an SEC defense other than the one drive we saw against Georgia, which was awesome, but I'd like to see a whole game of it. Excited to see that this week. Again, I hope Kentucky makes this interesting. I hope Kentucky makes this, like the Georgia game last year where they were very close, or the Ole Miss last year where they won. But I didn't see a lot in the Toledo game that suggested to me that they're going to go beat Ole Miss. But again, I didn't see anything in the South Carolina game last year that suggested they were going to beat Ole Miss, and then they did. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, the one thing you said, and I agree with, because they beat Ole Miss last year, because Ole Miss lost these guys at home, there's enough play. Like I know Ole Miss uses the transfer portal a lot, but there's enough players who are on that Ole Miss team who know exactly what that loss to Kentucky cost them, who will be very motivated. You like my choice of words there?
I did, yes.
Very motivated. All right, let us move on. Our next game is a renewal of an old Big 8 and Big 12 rivalry, and really the rivalry dates back to, your American history class. Kansas, Missouri. These two were bitter rivals, blood feud on the border. And now it is time for them to renew it. We saw Bo Pribula make his Missouri debut Thursday night. Obviously, Central Arkansas did not put up a huge fight. But going into that game, the thought was, is it going to be Bo Pribula? They're going to play Horn a little bit. Is one guy the guy? And then Horn got hurt on his first play, and it's definitely Pribula now. So there's no doubt about that. Bo Pribula is the guy. Their five-star freshman Zollers got in there at the end, but it's Bo Pribula against Jalen Daniels. Jalen Daniels has looked fantastic in 2 games so far. Remember, Kansas did play Fresno State in week 0, so he's got 2 games under his belt. I'm pumped for this quarterback matchup.
I'm pumped for this matchup in general because you have a sleeper in the SEC that's been very consistent, and you have a team that, I think people forgot about after a slow start last year that might actually be pretty electric. Kansas has been lighting up the scoreboard again, and Jalen Daniels looks like peak Jalen Daniels at the moment. And I wonder if we're underestimating Kansas. I've been wondering this for 2 weeks, and we're going to find out the definitive answer on Saturday for sure. Which way are you leaning on this one, Andy?
This is a hard one for me because I really like what Kansas is doing this year. But I also feel like as good a coach as Lance Leipold is, I don't think we've really given Eli Drinkwitz enough credit for the job he's done at Missouri. I think Missouri is a much harder job than people realize. I always say that, as the years pass, I appreciate what Gary Pinkel did more and more. Mm-hmm. But Eli Drinkwitz has turned Missouri into a program where you kind of expect them to win 9 or 10 games in the SEC. Granted, they probably got the best draw, them or Texas, of some of these SEC teams, but it's still a hard schedule, generally speaking. And now they're going and playing Kansas out of conference. They're playing South Carolina, they're playing Alabama, they're playing Auburn, they're playing Texas A&M, they're playing Oklahoma. This is not an easy schedule. Yet, would we be the least bit shocked if Missouri wins 9 or 10 games against the schedule? We would not.
No, I have been doing a lot of thinking because now once we get to actually see some teams, I know half the games were meaningful, and the other half it was hard to analyze, but I'm trying to come up with sneaky college football playoff contenders now. And I wonder if Mizzou is one.
Both of these teams are?
Both of these teams are, but Mizzou for a different reason. Because they have a good, hard schedule on the surface for helmets, but they're not playing a game now, right? As I look at it, they 1,000% cannot win. Now that we have a different viewpoint of what Alabama is, if they're able to go 10-2 and beat Bama, and they lose to Auburn and Oklahoma or something, but they beat Alabama, Kansas, and A&M, that's a playoff resume. And that's, getting there without having to play Texas, without having to play Georgia.
And in that scenario, they also would have beaten South Carolina in the one you just laid out.
Those would be good quality wins, but there wouldn't be any giant there.
There's no – okay, so Missouri might not be favored in all of those games. But Missouri's Missouri's within 1 touchdown. If we're making lines for all these games, Missouri's within one touchdown of everybody on the schedule, if not favored.
For sure. And it's a I think it, without offending people, could be a fake good SEC schedule at the end of the year. We'll see how it plays out. South Carolina turned it on in the second half of the game that we were at yesterday. You know how I feel about Auburn, Oklahoma. We're going to find out about Saturday. A&M is still a mystery to me. But, none of these teams are Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Alabama isn't what we thought they were going to be. I think we can definitively say at this point. So they have a chance to look super impressive, even if what they're doing when we kind of find out all the results at the end of the year might not be. And that's like the perfect candidate to get in at 10-2. So I'm on high alert for Missouri. That said, I'm picking Kansas to cover in the game.
Woo! There you go.
I wish it was 7.
I will point out one of my favorite players in the country is in this game, Daniel Highshaw at Kansas. He's a running back. He's a 220-pound running back. And it's fun when you watch him run the ball. It's much more fun when you watch him block people. There are highlight reels. There are cut-ups of him just mashing people, either as a lead blocker or when he's picking up blitzers in pass protection. There's nothing more fun than watching this guy just tattoo somebody. So I want to point that out if you're going to watch this game. But this will be, I think, a pretty high-scoring game, and also just a fun game. Like they're going to be some spectacular plays, and I think there's probably going to be some dumb plays.
Yeah, this is the game. This is the game where this is the weekend where casuals might not get excited because you don't have Clemson, LSU on the schedule, but real college football fans get excited for games like this. I can't wait. I think Kansas is a shot to win the game, but I'm taking the points.
All right, so you are taking Kansas with almost a touchdown, which I don't blame you for. I'm going to take Missouri here. I think Eli Drinkwitz has something going there, and as much as I like Kansas, and as much as I do think Kansas is a potential Big 12 title contender, I think this Missouri team could be really good. And especially now, this will be the first week they go in there knowing, hey, this is our QB1. We're building this offense around Bo Pribula, and we're going to see what we can do with it. This is a true dual threat.
He had a Vanilla Vic moment too, so I don't know if you saw that, but
I mean that's what he was at Penn State.
No, but this one
that was the only way they used him at Penn State. We actually seen this before. Remember, Will Levis leaves Penn State after being used in that way, and becomes a starter at Kentucky and winds up being very good. Now, I'd say Pribula got to do more at Penn State than Levis did, because remember, Pribula had to go into the Wisconsin game last year when Drew Aller got hurt and basically lead the offense for the second half, and did it fine. Like, helped them win the game, and it was not a game that they were just rolling Wisconsin. He had to be good in that game. So I am very excited for these quarterbacks, because is it possible, Ari, that we see a game where both quarterbacks throw for 200 and run for 100?
I think it's possible.
I want to watch that game.
Yeah,
I want to watch it. And look, that may be the one we're all locked in on at that point. I think this afternoon slate, it's one of those that we're not sure where we're going to be. This is the one I think we're all going to be locked in on. We're all going to be tweeting about, and we're all going to be like, oh man, both these teams are fun to watch. But yeah, I will take Missouri to cover. I realize that's a lot of points, but I got faith in Eli Drinkwitz. Ari, let us go to the town where I am. So we did a game 3 miles from your house. Let's do one 5 miles from my house. USF at Florida. I believe this line opened at Florida -19 and is now down to Florida -17.5. USF was awesome against Boise State in week 1. If you didn't know about Byron Brown before, or if you remembered Byron, if you've forgotten about Byron Brown 2023 version because he got hurt in 2024 and was not really ever himself, you remember him now. He's big, he's very tough to tackle, and when he's running like that, it opens up their passing game.
I don't want to overreact to the positive, because South Florida beat the crap out of Boise and the entire country was watching. Byron Brown was electric and a very good runner. There's going to be a different caliber of athlete on the field when he's playing Florida. And he was, I thought, deficient at times throwing the football. I am very high on Florida's ability to, compete for potentially the SEC championship. And I just don't see how USF is as competitive as people are going to make them out to be. We're doing the Byron Brown overreaction this week, and I'm not going to take the bait on that, I think. Well,
and I'm giving you that bait for a reason. The Florida fans came out of that game against Long Island not as happy with DJ Lagway as they usually are, because he wasn't super sharp in that game. The highlight of that game was an incredible one-handed catch by Vernell Brown III, but there wasn't anything that just blew you away from Lagway's performance against a very overmatched opponent. And so I think everybody's just kind of waiting to see what's he going to look like when he plays a team with a little more talent. USF is a team with a little more talent. And remember, after this, Florida's at LSU and at Miami. So whatever kinks they got to work out, they got to work them out right now. Like, it has to be pretty much perfect after this week. So I want to see what Florida looks like when they are playing a team that they feel like can challenge them. And how does Lagway look? Because remember, what was the concern and the criticisms with Lagway dealing with all the nagging injuries, not being able to throw in the spring, not being able to work out with the team as much as you wanted to in the preseason? Will he be ready? Will he be conditioned? Will the chemistry be there that you need? Now would be the time to show that.
Yeah. I'm not going to be upset over the first 4 drives or whatever it was against Long Island.
No, it might not mean anything.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points here. I think Florida's got a very good defense. Their lines of scrimmage are going to be unlike anything that, USF is going to encounter again. I know that some people think that USF is a trendy.
USF's going to encounter a very good line of scrimmage next week as well when they play Miami.
That's true. Oh yeah, you get what I'm saying. This is going to be this isn't something that they're going to encounter very often when they're playing in their league. And I think that it's not something they've encountered yet with Boise. It's going to be a different type of ball game. I'm going to lay the 17.5.
The Sharps are hitting USF. Maybe they know something we don't, but
19 is a weird number.
Yeah, 19 is a weird number. I'll take Florida to cover as well. I think probably they're playing a team in Long Island that had no business playing. Everybody was a little bit out of sorts. I think they lock in this time. I think they cover this spread. Next up, Ari. Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech. We just saw Virginia Tech in person yesterday. Virginia Tech put up a much better fight against South Carolina than we expected. I thought their defense played really well. I thought Kyron Drones is a very tough quarterback to bring down, who throws a beautiful deep ball, who will occasionally throw into triple and maybe quadruple coverage.
Yeah, and miss open receivers at times. It's like he's just like the Anthony Richardson, right? Comparison, where it's just like super athletic freak. Not sure he's like a proficient football player, but there are certain times.
Although Dylan Stewart chasing you does affect that a lot.
Yeah, but that wasn't my first time watching him play either. So, I think everybody's been waiting 3 or 4 years for the light to turn on for this guy and figure it out. And I think that Virginia Tech played a much more physical, aggressive game than you would have anticipated going into that South Carolina game. And in fact, had multiple opportunities, in my opinion, to actually win that game and could have won that game, which I think is an important thing to say. But coming off of that emotional, Beamer Bowl type situation, laying it out there and giving it 110% and falling short. I think Vanderbilt is a sneaky, not so sneaky good team anymore. And I'll take the quarterback advantage that Vanderbilt has. I'm going to take the Vanderbilt here.
I'm shocked Virginia Tech's favored in this game. I think that's an overreaction to what we saw yesterday.
Yeah. I don't want to bite off more than we can chew with Vandy, because last year was fun. And last year, they proved that they can compete in the SEC. And I think that competing with Virginia Tech in the way that Virginia Tech played against South Carolina would be like a hard-nosed SEC type game. I don't think that it's not going to be physical, but I think that Virginia Tech is more probably prone to making some back-breaking mistakes. And I think Diego Pavia is an electric player that will get the job done and knows how to win games on the road. I'll take the point or Vanderbilt outright.
Producer River's like, this is a night game in Blacksburg. Okay, so you're going to get a Metallica concert beforehand. Great. Do you think that's going to bother Diego Pavia?
He might do the
That's not going to bother Diego Pavia.
He might do the air guitar.
Exactly. That's the guy that you want in that situation. So, yeah, I probably was prepared to take Vanderbilt -3, but if you're going to give me Vanderbilt +1, yeah, I'll take Vanderbilt.
Yep.
All right. Let's go Stark Vegas. Viva Stark Vegas. Arizona State at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a touchdown underdog at home against the defending Big 12 champs. Sam Leavitt coming in against a Mississippi State defense that looked improved against Southern Miss. The Southern Miss game was a little dicey for a minute, but they pulled away. So where are we at on Mississippi State as the Sun Devils come to town?
I mean, we're resentful right now for what happened with the Southern Miss game. Oh, yes, how are we doing? We aren't doing great. I had a
we as in you.
Yeah, we Southern Mississippi. We, my family, is less well off as we were as a result of that. Mississippi State played a more complete and better game than I think people thought. Arizona State is dealing with a so much success at once hangover. But I still think that Arizona State, they've got to be able to win this game by 7, right?
Do they?
I don't know.
This is a night game in Starkville. The cowbells will be clanging. Clanger, 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 clanger.
Never seen a game there, so you tell me, is that an intimidating
I've been to some games there now.
Yeah.
Was it the Auburn game where they beat them and then moved to number 1 in the polls the following week in 2014? That was a magical atmosphere. Yeah, when things get going in Starkville, it is a fun place to see a game. Not necessarily a fun place to be the opponent in a game like that. So, it's going to be a question of how does Mississippi State's defense affect Sam Leavitt? So, Braylon Braxton at Southern Miss, who was the defending Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year, he only averaged 5 yards an attempt against this Mississippi State defense. Sam Leavitt's a 10 yards per attempt type quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, and Jordan Tyson's one of the best receivers in college football. So he's going to get open. He's going to make plays. I know that it's probably not any SEC game or any SEC road game is difficult. And I know that that's not a short ways away from Tempe. But I think Arizona State will probably win this game around 10. I'll lay the points on the road and feel comfortable with it.
Give me the Bulldogs to cover. I still think Arizona State might win. But I'll take if you're going to give me a whole touchdown, I'll take Mississippi State. I think they put up a good fight at home. I really, so far, Mississippi State has played hard for Jeff Lebby. Their roster last year was clearly deficient. They went in the portal. They had some money to spend versus last year where they really didn't have a lot of money to spend. I think they're going to be more talented this year. I think they can hang. I don't know if they can win it, but I think they can hang. So give me Mississippi State to cover the 7.
All right, now we're going to the big one.
Woo, boy. Woo, boy. Michigan heading to Norman, Oklahoma. We have John Mateer, the most sought-after quarterback in the transfer portal this year. He went from Washington State to Oklahoma following offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle. We have Bryce Underwood, who is the most sought-after high school signee quarterback in the class of 2025. He was a day 1 starter as a true freshman at Michigan, which that doesn't happen very often. We saw Underwood have a good debut against New Mexico State. We saw Mateer look very good in Oklahoma season opener. Or did I say New Mexico State against New Mexico? We saw Mateer look good in Oklahoma season opener. There were some line issues with Oklahoma, but they weren't playing with what they thought was going to be their starting 5, and it looks like they will be this week. So now you get Oklahoma favored by 6.5 with Michigan coming to town.
I've been calling Oklahoma's going to win this game since the middle of the summer, and I still believe that. I think,
and that line scares you, doesn't it?
It's too many points. I think, especially if it gets to 7. Michigan is a team that's going to be really difficult to block and very tough defensively. I think that if Oklahoma does have some holes, if their offensive line needs a month to get into the groove of things, that Michigan is the type of team that can make you pay for it. And I know that John Mateer is awesome. He had a really high completion percentage. He threw for a ton of yards. But if you ask Oklahoma fans, they're probably a lot of them aren't very amped up by what they saw the other night. So, I'm not backing off of my Oklahoma has a chance to make the playoff. I think that it is going to be an interesting, fun season for them. Having them win by a touchdown is a little much for me in week 2. I think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to cover.
Well, and that's what I wonder is if we get the full Oklahoma offensive line, like what it's supposed to look like, is it going to be significantly different? I mean, we're talking about 2 guys coming back. Michael Fasusi's one, the true freshman tackle that everybody was very excited about seeing. Derek Simmons is the other one. Fasusi is true freshman left tackle. First game out of the gate is going to be against Michigan. Is going to be like Derek Moore. Like Derek Moore is the guy who blew up the last play of the Rose Bowl to make Nick Saban lose his last game at Alabama. That's who you're going against as a true freshman starting your first game. Like that is a wild, wild matchup. But he's also apparently very good. Like he wouldn't be in this position if he wasn't ready. And so I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited to see Bryce Underwood against Brent Venables' defense. Brent Venables' defense, known for confusing even veteran quarterbacks. So how is a true freshman going to handle a picture that's going to change for him quite a bit from pre-snap to post-snap? Is he going to make mistakes? Is he going to throw interceptions that are going to hurt him, that are going to allow him to have better field position? They're going to allow Messenger to get quick points, quick momentum changes. Like that's the part that is very interesting. Allow Oklahoma to get quick points and quick momentum changes. That's the part I'm curious about because this is a good Oklahoma defense. I don't expect Michigan to be able to score a lot. Michigan, on the other hand, is going to have to stop John Mateer, who he is not new to this. He started all last year at Washington State. Now, has he faced competition like this before? No, not really.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. There are reasons to think that Oklahoma could roll. There's reasons to think that Michigan can win. I'm going to take the wuss way out. I'm going to take the points. I think this is going to be a physical, low-scoring game. I do think that Oklahoma is going to get the Bryce Underwood. I think that it's going to be hard for Michigan to score as well. But I think that this is going to be the type of game that's in question in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, and I'll be happy to have that touchdown or close the touchdown.
So this is the one where the legend of Bryce Underwood can take off.
For sure.
This is the one where if
and the legend of Mateer.
Or the legend of John Mateer, exactly. But it's different for Mateer if it's Oklahoma's defense confusing Underwood. They get a pick six or they, get a couple possessions where they're basically in the red zone already and punch him in. If Michigan is to win, Bryce Underwood's probably going to have to march them down the field a couple times.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the stuff of legend if it happens. No one is going to be too down if it doesn't happen. It's understandable if he goes in there and he doesn't have the best game. It's your first start on the road. It's your first start against a power conference defense. It's going to be understandable.
Yep.
I like the way you handled this. It is a lot of points. The more and more I think about a true freshman going against a Brent Venables defense, the more I think, you know what? It may be Mateer time.
Yeah. Deion Burks is from Michigan, and he said earlier, in the last few days that the best players at home or from Michigan stay at home and go to Michigan. And he said he wasn't recruited by Michigan, that it's personal for him. Deion Burks is a really good receiver. You start to hear things like that. That's exciting. And if the spread was like 2.5 or 3, which I was anticipating, I probably would lay the points, but there's a real likelihood here that Michigan blows up the entire game from their defensive line. Like I've seen this happen. I've seen it happen a lot, and especially against teams that you think are going to beat them. 7 points, 6.5 points is a lot. So I'm just going to, we'll see if I try to be right with both. I'll thread the needle for the middle here. Oklahoma wins, Michigan covers.
This is not what I expected that I'd be doing, but the more I talk about it, and I've been talking myself into this probably for the better part of the weekend, but if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would not have like if you told me what this line would be 6 months ago, I said there's no way I'm taking Oklahoma to cover, but I've talked myself into it. I will take Oklahoma to cover, and mostly
Oklahoma
this is my
an
faith
intoxicating thing. Like falling in love with them is easy this year. Like
but I'm not even falling in love with them. I am just trying to use a little common sense based on what I've seen so far this season with first-time starters in these big environments and veteran quarterbacks in these big environments. The veteran quarterbacks have consistently outplayed the first-time starters.
Mm-hmm.
And a first-time starter against a defense that we know to be incredibly confusing, I feel like that's a tough spot for Bryce Underwood to be in. And John Mateer has been here before. Granted, he's playing against a Wink Martindale defense that'll come after you and that has a bunch of really good players, but he has the experience. So if the first weekend taught me anything, it is the experience at QB does matter. So I will take Oklahoma to cover.
Yeah, can't wait. Game of the week. Two programs that don't play each other very often. It's going to be a really cool spectacle there. And Lord help Brent Venables if they lose this game.
Don't lose it. Don't. And Bryce Underwood, the NIL might not be enough if they win this game. As good as it is, it might not be enough because you may be the dude for a long time at Michigan. Or John Mateer may be headed to folk hero status. That's the best part about games like this is legends are made in games like this. I cannot wait. Saturday night in Norman, Michigan, Oklahoma. That's why we do this. Cannot wait. Ari, this has been a lot of fun. Our picks and our spreads, of course, presented by BetMGM. We'll see how those lines move. We may have to come back to some of these later in the week. But, of course, we have a show every day. So you come back here, 3 p.m. Eastern time on the On3 Sports YouTube channel every day, Monday through Thursday. And then, of course, we have the post-game show on Saturday, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you tomorrow.